Picture this. You're at a dinner party, someone tells a joke, the whole table laughs, and you laugh too. But in the same breath, your brain has already broken down why it was funny, linked it to something you read 2 years ago, and quietly clocked that half the laughter in the room feels a little forced. You smile and move on. Because what else are you going to do? That's not brilliance. That's exhaustion with a high vocabulary. We have this gorgeous, movie-polished image of what intelligence looks like. The lone genius, the eccentric visionary, the quiet person in the corner who turns out to be the most interesting one in the room. And sure, there's some truth in that. But the version nobody makes films about is the person lying awake at 2 a.m., mind absolutely refusing to stop, replaying conversations from 3 weeks ago, wondering why they can feel so mentally sharp and so emotionally hollow at the exact same time. That's the version we're talking about today. There's something researchers call the intelligence happiness paradox. Studies published in journals like Intelligence have found, repeatedly, that higher cognitive ability does not reliably predict greater life satisfaction. In many cases, it predicts the opposite. More anxiety, more rumination, more of a gap between how things are and how you sense they could be. Not because something is wrong with you, but because of the very thing that makes you sharp. A highly intelligent brain is a prediction machine that never clocks out. It doesn't just process the present. It models futures, rehearses conversations, anticipates outcomes. Incredibly useful when you're solving a problem. Quietly exhausting when you're just trying to enjoy your morning coffee. Because the engine doesn't have an off switch. It's always running. And running any engine continuously, without rest, burns through fuel in ways that are hard to explain to people whose engine idles. Think about what this looks like in real life. You're watching a film, and you're also tracking the narrative choices. You're in a conversation, and you're simultaneously reading the subtext, the pauses, the things nobody is saying. You're in a meeting, and you've already mapped 3 ways it could go sideways. You don't choose to do this. It just happens. And after years of experiencing the world this way, it starts to feel less like a superpower and more like a condition. Psychologist Elaine Aron's work on deep sensory processing connects directly here. Highly intelligent people don't just think more, they absorb more. They feel the texture of the world at a higher resolution. And absorbing the world at that resolution, with all its pain and contradiction and beauty and injustice, takes a toll that people around you may genuinely be unable to see. When someone tells you to stop overthinking, they're not being dismissive. They literally cannot perceive what you're perceiving. And that gap between your inner life and what you can actually communicate is one of the loneliest places a person can inhabit. Loneliness, in fact, is one of the most consistent findings in the psychology of high IQ individuals. Not because they dislike people. Many of them love people with an intensity that surprises even themselves. But because genuine resonance is rarer at the edges of a distribution. If you've ever had the quiet ache of watching someone's eyes glaze over mid-conversation, you know this. You learn to edit yourself, translate yourself. Over years, that editing becomes automatic, and suddenly you realize the version of you that most people know is a significantly simplified edition of who you actually are. Then there's something called depressive realism, a finding that's equal parts fascinating and uncomfortable. Research from the 1980s by Alloy and Abramson found that people experiencing depression often have more accurate perceptions of reality than their non-depressed counterparts. Non-depressed people tend to carry slight positive illusions. They overestimate their control, their likability, their odds. Those illusions are psychological scaffolding. They hold the building up. Highly intelligent people are frequently less susceptible to those illusions. They see the probability more plainly, the risk more clearly. And that clarity, while genuinely valuable, doesn't always feel like a gift. Sometimes it feels like everyone else is watching a filtered version of a film, and you're the only one seeing the raw cut. Psychologist Kazimierz Dąbrowski wrote about a concept he called positive disintegration. The idea that when a complex mind breaks down its simpler frameworks for understanding the world, that's not collapse. That's development. The darkness isn't a destination. It's a passage. a necessary friction between who you were and who you're becoming. And that reframe matters. Because here's the thing I want to leave you with. The architecture that makes this hard is the exact same architecture behind your capacity for deep empathy, genuine creativity, and the kind of love and attention you give to the people and things you care about. The brain that can't stop running is also the brain that can sit with complexity long after everyone else has left the room. The person who grieves the impermanence of beautiful things is also the person who actually notices them. The person who feels too much is not too much. They are living at a depth most people never reach, and that depth deserves acknowledgement, not management. If this video has felt less like psychology content and more like a description of your inner life, that recognition is the whole point. The dark side of high IQ is real, but is not the whole story. The same mind that carries the weight also builds the worlds.